We are live. Get in.
There you go. Live and in
Right.
person.
There you go. That's it. Live live on a Thursday, did you say?
Live and in person.
All right. Live and in person and on a Thursday. So here we are. What are we? An hour and 10 minutes till the window shuts. I've also got the screen. We've got about a minute left in the Leicester City Man United game.
I've got that on the telly. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. You've got it on the telly, so I'll knock it off my phone. And
okay. I don't think you're going to miss much.
No, it's a funny one. I mean, Leicester are poor. So is a 1-0 win for United in that game? Is it a confidence booster? Is it momentum building? Is it kind of par for the course? The way you're looking at the screen then, I thought something was happening.
It's momentum building. That's what it is for them, because they weren't convincing against Southampton last weekend, and they've not been massively convincing today. But a win's a win.
Yeah, much like Spurs.
Much like Spurs, you take the points and you take the results where you can get them. And they're not going to celebrate because it's only Leicester, and you don't celebrate.
You can't celebrate against Leicester. Just on that, did you see the classic Arsenal fans' response to Richard Keys after the Villa game?
Is that the fireworks?
Yeah, that's superb.
I mean, we're at Hornsey Road because we were supposed to park on Queensland Road, but Villa brought so many coaches that they had to use the overspill at Hornsey Road. And there's bloody fireworks going off.
That's brilliant.
It only dawned on us that we were like, oh, okay, that's people sort of taking the mick and being a bit over the top. But yeah, it's funny.
It is superb. I thought that's fantastic. That's the kind of pettiness I can get on board with.
Yeah,
very, very happily.
I'm just now thinking I'm going to look ahead, and I'm going to suggest that maybe, I don't know, what would it be? We need a sort of match that's a bit further down the line at home, but not overly significant. So I'm looking at, got it. So Sunday, October the 30th against Forest. If we win, bus parade.
Let's take it to the
other
level.
Go down to Islington Town Hall. We'll get the mayor out. Jeremy Corbyn can do a speech from the balcony. Because we've got to celebrate.
Yeah, no, I know. I absolutely on board with that. Hey, listen, we've got a viewer, we've got a watcher.
Cool.
I reckon it's my daughter, but I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, you'll be disappointed to know that it is full time and Manchester United have won.
Well, I didn't expect anything else.
No. If we talk transfers later, I think a word on Leicester will be very interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I've just got we actually have another watcher who's just posted a comment. Jesus is the Brazilian Martial. This is from a Manchester United fan. So the question has to be asked: What on earth is a Manchester United fan doing on my comment section? But there's a little bit of a backstory there. Ved, congratulations on your GCSE results. Well impressed. Well done, my man. You earned it. And does that mean Jesus is going to be injured all the time? That's what I want to know. If he's the Brazilian Martial, is he going to be injured all the time?
Just, severely underused because.
Yeah, I think there's a good player in there with Martial.
Yeah,
I must admit. But there were rumours at one point, maybe in the last year and a half, that we might be interested in him, and I would have been up for that. I think. I don't know, but I don't know enough about him.
Is he a bit sulky as a player?
Maybe, but I don't know. Who did we have that was called Le Sulk?
Zanelka.
He was all right, wasn't he?
Yeah, for a short time.
Yeah, until he buggered off then. So, okay, United have picked up 3 points. It's Old Trafford on Sunday with Salford-born Paul Tierney refereeing the match.
This really bothers you, doesn't it?
It does. I risk losing sleep over this.
Well, don't, because we never get anything at United, and Paul Tierney being born in Salford only adds to the misery that is likely to come our way, because it's United away. It's just a horrible, horrible fixture.
Yeah, you're going though, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm going, but that's mainly just to keep my credits up.
No, fair enough. I
and
won't
the fact
go.
that Monday is an inset day, so I don't really have to be 100% alert.
Well, unfortunately I am teaching on Monday, but Ved, it's never going to be 4-0. I can tell you that now. 4-0 at least. That's just Ved. Thanks for the timely reminder as to why I love Manchester United and all their fans. So, what do we know? Just over an hour till the transfer window shuts. And look, it depends on who you follow on Twitter. We've obviously put in a few bids for Douglas Luiz, the Aston Villa midfielder. I don't know. Apart from the fact he scored direct from a corner against us and direct from a corner for the second time this season already, Brazilian. I didn't realise that Arteta worked with him at Man City. I forgot all about his kind of former years at Manchester City. He's only 24.
That surprised me. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought he was old. I thought he was older. He's 5'9", a bit like Manchester United's £57 million centre back. Sorry, that was a response to another comment that Ved's made. Ved, isn't it past your bedtime? It's 5'9". I mean, look, apparently a couple of journos from the Telegraph and the Mail have said that it's a dead deal. It's not happening. Villa are standing firm. I don't know what figure they want, but I think it was north of 30 million. But David Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano, who I will kind of follow more than other, or whose word I will take ahead of other journalists. They both said that a third bid has gone in of 25 million, and Villa are considering it. That's the latest. Now, it could be a whole, smoke and mirrors, and Arsenal releasing certain information to the Telegraph saying the deal's dead to maybe get the wind up Villa a little bit. The guy's got a year left on his contract. There's nobody else after him. So and we did see Douglas Luiz and Jesus on the pitch after the Villa game yesterday evening, and they were having a nice little chinwag. And you can see why Douglas Luiz would be interested. Obviously, Arsenal's a step up from Villa, certainly this season. I know Villa fans were somewhat laughably trying to compare the two clubs a year and a half ago. But he's got the Brazilian connection, obviously, Edu. He's got the Edu, and he's got Martinelli and Gabriel and Jesus there as well. So,
did I read somewhere that Douglas Luiz's middle name is Gabriel?
No, you probably did. Hang on, I've got his Wikipedia page up because I'm organised. Hang on.
Someone with some banter.
No, Douglas Luiz Suarez de Paulo.
Okay.
So no Gabriel there. No, unfortunately, because we would be collecting them.
Or we change it.
Oh, we should change it. Yeah, that's
change
part of the
everyone's name
contract.
to Gabriel.
Part of the contract.
Gabriel Ramsdale.
Yeah. Slight concern. I'm hearing rumours that Ramsdale, and you'll like this, Ved, rumours that Ramsdale and Ødegaard are doubts for Sunday. I mean, it would be just so typical of this Arsenal team to go to United completely depleted and to hand them the morale boosting, confidence boosting 4-0 win that would be unjust and against all that is good. So I'm hoping, and fingers crossed, that that those rumours aren't true, but they both received treatment, and Ødegaard was substituted, and he was injured a good 15 minutes prior to him being substituted. So maybe there is some truth in it.
Yeah. I hope not. Yeah, it's the injuries that is going to really affect us on Sunday. Because the one thing you want to do is, even if there's one or two players out, you want to go there with the same approach we've taken with every game. You know, high press, fast start. But if you take Ødegaard out, if you have to jig around that front line.
Well, there is a like-for-like replacement for Ødegaard, and that's Emil Smith-Rowe. However, I mean, I've said this. I say this every time I get the opportunity, but I agree with you. Ødegaard is one of the few players I've seen in the last 10 years at Arsenal who I feel would fit into a Wenger invincible team. I think he's just he's on another level on his game. He's unplayable, and you can't replace that. There is going to be a drop in quality no matter who comes in. So, and Emil, I think, is like a talented young footballer and was brilliant there, and has in fact had a bit more of a goal threat in him than Ødegaard last season. So has got potential, but to take him out, I would not be confident. You know, going to Old Trafford to take him out of the team, party, and so you'd be missing. I'm hoping Zinchenko's back. Does he start? Does he start? Yeah, I think he starts. Don't you?
It depends what other injuries we've got. I mean, you keep the team pretty much the same where possible, because I thought Lokonga did quite well, and it's not Man United's. Is it Man United's midfield?
Well, Scott McTominay, he'll do a hatchet job and get away with it every single game.
But it's not that. It's even tonight against Leicester, and it's a poor Leicester team, as we've seen for the last few years. United still want to hit on the counter. You know, they're playing Elanga, Rashford, and Sancho, and they are potent when it comes to hitting teams on the break. So what we've got to do is be able to have the legs to kind of negate that where possible. Mate, I mean, does Zinchenko do that more than Lokonga? If Zinchenko's carrying an injury, can he do that at such a high level and at pace? I don't know.
Do you put both Tierney and Zinchenko?
Yeah. Do you go three at the back?
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. I thought Lokonga did well yesterday against Villa.
And that wasn't an easy game. They were very Villa were determined not to play football first half. They were determined just to kick. And the guy who sits next to us, it was his first game this season, and he was quite drunk as well. But he kept commenting on how fast we were playing, and it was relentless. That first half was like the tempo was. They were breathless watching it. It was like, I do not remember when we played with such high tempo for such a concerted period of time. It was the entire first half. And it was an absolute travesty that we weren't more than one goal up. I mean, we did miss a couple of really gilt-edged chances. And I just worry about that. I can't talk about last night's game other than within the context of Sunday, because that's my kind of, I don't, I'll be in the house on my own. So there's a high chance I might not even watch it live.
Is that safe?
Is that safe? Yeah.
You have someone around?
It depends. It depends on, it depends on how it's going. But I'm a little bit worried. I just got to ask a question here about what do I think about Antony? And I'm worried on one. He only scored 8 goals in the Dutch league last season, and 4 assists or something like that, which is pretty poor output for a £100 million player. However, I just know that if he makes his debut against us, and I think it will be off the bench, I don't think he will start, especially as United have now won 3 games on the bounce. I don't think he'll change it. I think he'll play the team that played tonight. But if you just know that Anthony's going to come off the bench and score a worldie, and then that'll be it. We won't hear about him for another season, for another year. So that's the answer is I don't know enough about Anthony. I haven't seen enough of him to know, is he any good? Is he better than what you've got? I don't know. Sancho scored again tonight.
I think the problem with any Man United signing is it might be decent recruitment if they weren't paying such astronomical fees. There is still this Man United tax, essentially, where it feels like, whereas someone might pay 30, maybe even 40 million for Anthony, they're paying double.
Yeah, and same with Casemiro. I mean, what was it, 70 million for a 31-year-old and a 4-year contract or something? I'm not sure about those numbers, actually. But
his wages are doubled from what he was earning at Real Madrid, which I'm sure weren't exactly paltry.
Again, I'm not saying he's a bad player, but I'm not sure he's as mobile as he would need to be in the Premier League.
It's the value you're looking at it in the whole thing. Look at Man City. Okay, the transfer fee itself for Haaland looks low because what was it, 50, 60? Something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah, about 60 million, yeah.
About 60 million. And they're paying him 500 grand a week or something ridiculous. But value-wise, there's no doubt in that because he's young and he's arguably the best striker in the world at the minute. Gabriel Jesus, for us, 45 million. I mean, the value of that is just incredible. And it's
we got mates rates for him though, didn't we?
Well, essentially. But then why don't Man United with Ajax with Ten Hag's connection? I don't know if he left there under a cloud or whatever, but it just seems ridiculous. And if so, why are you going back there to get players? It's just
Ten Hag is obviously sticking with players that he knows, isn't he? Yeah. Having said that,
would you pay such a premium for a player unless they are a sure thing? And I don't feel like this Anthony is a sure thing. Well, I mean,
you can't. Yeah, as a 22-year-old, you can't with no previous Premier League experience. You can't be a sure thing, really.
Money. It's just crazy money. Man United and Chelsea stick out as being this sort of bizarre scattergun. They're what's giving the Premier League a kind of bad name, really, in that, we've got all this money and we don't really know what to do with it. Whereas even with Man City, who are the richest club in the world, Newcastle aside maybe, and yet there's always a strategy to them. Yeah, they probably have overpaid for players in the past, but they identify a player and they pay what needs to get that done and over the line. If Arsenal were so sure about Tielemans or Douglas Luiz, we'd pay 30 million or we'd pay 40 million. But there's an argument, something probably in the back of our minds that says, yeah, they've both got a year left on their contract and they're okay, but...
Yeah, you can get... I mean, Jesus had a year left on his contract, but that was a very different...
But you just go, right, well, yeah, he's brilliant.
Yeah, he's worth it. Yeah, whereas... I think Tielemans and Douglas Luiz are probably very good players, but I don't think they're such a huge upgrade on what we've got that we'd spend 30 million now when we could get them for free in 12 months' time. Although I suspect
that's strategizing that Chelsea and Man United just don't seem to be thinking about.
I suspect that Douglas Luiz and Tielemans will probably sign extensions or new contracts in the next couple of weeks if no deal does go through,
or they won't, and then they will go for free.
And can Leicester and Villa afford to do that? I mean, I don't know who backs Villa, but it seems an odd one that they're basically turning down 25 million now. They've bought Dendoncker from Wolves as a midfielder, and he's almost practically a like-for-like replacement for Douglas Luiz. So it depends. I have just read on Twitter that Villa have rejected the third bid, but I don't know how reliable that source is. And Casemiro is actually 30 years old. He's born on the 23rd of February, 92.
God, that's impressive. 92 and he's 30.
And he's old, yeah.
And he's old as a footballer. Oh my God.
Oh, hang on. What did we have? Someone scored in the last week, and they're the first player born in 2004 to score in the Premier League.
Oh God.
They were born in 2000.
Not the Liverpool player.
No, it's not him.
No,
it's not him. But can you believe there's a player born in 2004 who's actually scored?
Started uni by then.
Well, my own kid was born in 2005, so that's that.
Anyway,
Liverpool have bought a player. No, they haven't bought a player. They've got Arthur Melo from Juventus on loan.
Who we were
linked with him. I mean, I guess if you've got a choice between coming to Liverpool or coming to Arsenal on loan, you're going to go to Liverpool at the moment, for sure.
Champions League football.
Yeah, for sure. It's a no-brainer. But that's on deadline day. If he was available, we could have got him on loan. Like a loan deal is a. We got Ødegaard via the loan system. It's a kind of. It's a no-lose situation, if not a win-win situation. It's like
true, but I do wonder if Arteta's conscious that loan players are fleeting and temporary. And
well, are they though? Because Spurs got Kulusevski, and who's the other one they got? Who's the other Spurs player? They got the two Bentancur or whatever his name is.
I suppose then it's just about each individual case. And again, it's just whether you're convinced. If it's a player you want but can't have straight away, then yeah, that loan system, as with Ødegaard, would prove very useful. He might not be seriously thinking about Melo long term, and therefore a loan seems kind of futile if he's not going to be in sort of longer term plans. I do feel like Arteta very much makes decisions for further down the line, even if that means cutting his nose off despite his face in the short term a little bit, which is what we're going to end up with here for midfield, similar to what we did with paying off Aubameyang last season and not getting another striker.
Can you believe Barcelona have acted as middleman for Aubameyang to go to Chelsea?
I can, because Barcelona must be one of the dodgiest run clubs in the world. They are frightening.
How do you feel about Aubameyang at Chelsea?
I don't care. I don't think it matters either way. He'll come to Chelsea, he'll score a few goals, and then he'll move on. And that's if Tuchel lasts that long, because he looked thoroughly fed up when they lost to Southampton, and they're buying players. I don't know if they're players he wants.
Yeah, it'd make you wonder whether it's his players they're getting or
just players they can get.
Or Todd Burley or Bowley, whatever his name is, his players. Charles Watts on Twitter has just said that as far as he knows, and he's a good Arsenal journo, Villa aren't budging with selling Douglas Luiz, despite the players' desire to move. So it's an interesting one, because we've left it very late to I think get.
If El Neni hadn't got injured,
okay,
even be talking about this.
But Arteta has, even as recently as yesterday, post-match, stated that we need more, and not in midfield, not just in midfield, but also firepower up front. So wide winger, another winger. We went big on Rafinha. He went to Barcelona. The Neto pursuit was real, but we were never going to pay that much money for him this transfer window. So why did that? Who leaked that and why? It's a curious one. I don't think it is as bad as the January window, where Aubameyang went and we didn't replace him. I don't think it is as bad as that. I think we do have. Look, we've got Marquinhos, who's obviously he's been banging in the goals for the under-23s, and he's maybe worth a punt at right. Like he'll get a run out in the Europa League against Zurich, you would think. We've also got Fabio Vieira, who hasn't kicked a ball in anger yet for the first team. So we have got alternative options, creative options within, like Zinchenko slipping in and Xhaka changing position. But it's still not. It's like a 4 out of 5 window when it could so easily, or I've said I wanted 2 more signings for the last month. That's so before we were winning 5 out of 5 and top of the league. You could just see Partey started 57% of the games he's been in England for. You can't rely on him. We need that, and he's the one player for whom we don't have adequate quality in cover for. I think Lokonga played really well against Villa. I think he stood up to the physical challenge well. I think he demanded the ball and commanded the ball really well in the first half. I think his range of passing was really good in the first half. I think he wilted a little bit in the second half, but lack of playing time will do that.
And Villa are always going to respond a little bit in the second half, and we're a bit more.
Yeah, they've got dangerous players. I think if they'd actually played football from the beginning, it wouldn't have been so one-sided in terms of actual balance of play, if not in the scoreline. Because Leon Bailey he's a live wire, but Ollie Watkins.
I like Watkins.
He's a good player. Buendia or Coutinho. I mean, that's a dangerous number 10. What's the Ramsey, the young player who maybe hasn't started the season as well. McGinn, he made McGinn captain, but McGinn's been pretty average. And if Ødegaard is badly injured, well, I hope McGinn gets what's coming to him, karma-wise, because that was a bit of a nasty left his studs on the ankle tackle. That was the referees. He's a new referee. He's not the Aussie referee, but he was new. I think that was his first Arsenal game in the Premier League he'd managed, and I don't think he was. I
don't think he did manage it very
well.
No,
he didn't. It was like, well, it's clear Villa's tactics are just to kick, and he could have, pardon the pun, but he could have stamped down on that a little bit earlier. But somewhat comically, we ended up going in at half time level on yellow cards with them, and they'd committed something like 8 or 9 fouls to our 1, and our 1 was a petulant little pullback. But we stood up to the physical challenge, which is really good. So we played yesterday with like really high intensity with the ball, moving the ball so fast. I mean, it was like it was a real eye opener. I've not seen us play like that before, like in recent times, even this season. You were at the 2 away games, so I don't know if we did that so much there. And certainly not the Palace game. Maybe the Bournemouth game, because we scored 2 goals in the first 12 minutes, so maybe that. But it was just breathless, constant. I thought, how are Villa going to live with this? And they didn't live with that. Would love us to start the same way against United on Sunday, or would that be playing into their hands somewhat?
That's the dilemma, isn't it? Because we press high, they can hit us on the counter if they manage to beat whatever traps we can set. Yeah, I don't know. What will be will be. We don't even know what the lineup's likely to be like. So again, you started talking about the Villa game, and where did you end up? You ended up.
Yeah. I can't help it. I go to sleep thinking Arsenal beat Villa. I wake up terrified Arsenal are about to play Man United. It's like it's how it's going. Fabrizio Romano's just tweeted that the feeling is that it won't happen, but it's not off yet.
Okay.
So we're waiting 40 minutes to go. Right, so Villa have rejected the 3rd bid. Arsenal have not left the negotiations, but it looks really complicated with Aston Villa. I think Aston Villa, I mean, I think Aston Villa are going to play it to the wire because they've signed a replacement, so they're not under any pressure.
No.
In terms of first team provision. Where they are under a bit of pressure is they're risking kind of turning away from a £25 million cash injection that they could then use in January to further strengthen the team if they're still looking a little bit ropey down the bottom. I don't know, but
Or pay off Gerrard and get a new manager in when they
pay off Gerrard and get indeed. Someone's tweeted like, how have Manchester United got £15 million for James Garner as well?
Well,
why can't and Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who's actually played for England?
I've got BBC updates going on here. Man United have got 15 million for James Garner. Man City have sold 2 young players to Southampton for a combined something like, I think it's 24 million. And that's the thing. Why?
We've got good at buying players, but we are absolutely rubbish at selling them.
Terrible at selling players. Why can't we sell players? What's going on with it? It is bizarre. Maitland-Niles could easily go for, if James Garner's 15.
Well, he's at least that, isn't he?
20.
Because he's got 2 years left on it. Well, he's got 1 year for his contract, but we've got a year for an option, so we just extend the option. So we get that we retain his value in that sense. And James, what was his name? Dan James has gone from Leeds to Fulham today, which is an interesting one because he played quite well against us for Leeds at the back end of last season. So I'm wondering why. I don't know. I don't know. Has he been in the first 11 much this season? I don't know because they've bought quite a few players, and he obviously wasn't a Jesse Marsh player, so maybe he doesn't fancy him. Yeah, I know. I agree, Ved. I think Villa would do better if Gerrard wasn't their manager. I think they've got Villa of how many? I can't remember what their stats are, but in the last 15 games, they've only won like 2 or 3. I can't remember what
they've lost 4 in a row, haven't they now? And something like that. They've conceded. What is it? They've scored 4 goals so far this season, and they've conceded within 3 minutes after 3 of them. So there's a clear element of concentration, organisation being a bit of an issue for them. Even when they score and they're on top, they just then, don't stick to their task. Yeah, they're in trouble.
Yeah. David Ornstein, who is the Oracle, has just tweeted that the bid rejection sounds like Arsenal pursuit of Aston Villa midfield Douglas Luiz is over. So we go as we are. All the noise about Saka extending seems quite positive, even from him himself. We've still got Saliba and Martinelli to get to contract extensions. Let's assume those 3 contract extensions go. And looking at the players we've bought, you've got to be happy with that.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, and it's until the squad balance is shifting in the right way. But like you say, for it to become a 5 out of 5 window, the squad balance would have needed to have shifted a little bit more. Maitland-Niles would have needed to have been sold. Mari would have needed to have been sold.
Why did we sell Maitland-Niles if we're light in midfield?
Well, that's the other question, isn't it? How if the manager's not going to pick and play players. Well, this is what worried me about Lokonga, because he's a player who could be ripe for a loan, still young enough to have plenty of potential. I do feel as good as Maitland-Niles has been here and there, I just don't see what he brings long-term to the team now, apart from being a versatile squad player, which I don't know if he's prepared to be. And if Arteta's not going to use him, then sell. I just, unless they're young and have potential and it's for their development. Maitland-Niles is 25.
Yeah, I mean, he does. He needs to play, really, doesn't he? For his
play him. You can play midfield. Why not?
We have another midfielder, central midfielder, who's gone out on loan, and it is my favourite loan story of the day. Miguel Aziz, who was at Portsmouth on loan last season, he's gone to Ibiza on loan.
He has gone.
It's in the Spanish second division. I didn't know Ibiza had a team. But I think that's a cracking decision. I'm not sure how much football I'd be playing if I went on loan to Ibiza. I'm not sure who'd be loaning me there either, and who'd be buying me once there. But there you go. They're a kind of minor. Right, so no, I'm just checking the old Twitter. I'm still waiting for a twist because one would assume the personal details have already been done agreed with Douglas Luiz, but I'm not getting too worked up if we don't get him.
Well, considering there was no mention of him until yesterday,
He didn't even start for Villa yesterday, did he? He came off the bench.
And I'm led to bit. I thought from Gerrard's post-match that was a contract situation. Right. That basically he's not picking certain people because of
they're not committed. They're not committed. Yeah,
which kind of suggests the fact that Rodgers selected Tielemans to start against United, that he's staying there.
He was substituted, so Arsenal Twitter went into a little bit of a tizzy and thinking he's been hooked early because he's got to get in the car and get down the M1. There was I don't know if you saw on Twitter, there was a little video clip of a guy driving past a house he claimed was Douglas Luiz's house, outside of which was parked a black kind of limo cab. And then that same car, and it was the same car because people had zoomed in on the number plate, that same car was then spotted half hour later driving down the M6 and then the M1 heading south. I mean, I wouldn't put it past Arsenal Twitter to have actually... But remember, they were following Isak in January, who incidentally scored a cracking goal on his debut for Newcastle.
And probably nearly
should have got two. That, I don't know. This offside rule is doing my head in. I don't know. These lines are thick and the images are like 1980s grainy. It's like, what the hell?
He does look good. He looks very slight. He's quite tall, but quite gangly as well. But, if he's got a bit of pace and movement about him, he could be a very canny signing. But Newcastle are in that phase now because of their rich owners that they're paying a premium. Is he a £60 million player?
Yeah, but they can afford to.
But that's the thing, isn't it? And it's the same with Man United.
How I don't understand how I understand how United can pay a lot of money because they are very much self-sustaining. They spend what they earn. The great big behemoth of football. But Newcastle, FFP, I know it's over a 3-year thing, but I don't understand how Newcastle can. I mean, they haven't spent a huge amount of money, to be fair. They haven't gone and spent £100 million on player A and then player B and player C. That Isak 60 million is about the most they've done, isn't it, so far?
This window, yeah.
How does FFP work? Do you know?
Not a clue. Because
I've read. Someone's tweeted about Bissouma at 25 million to Tottenham. About drawing a comparison.
Yep, could have got him, but that's Champions League football. Brighton have made money on Bissouma. Bissouma's now going to play in the Champions League. That's the one thing that we can't offer. We'll be more of a draw, given the way we've started the season, winning games, very positive atmosphere.
With the way we're playing as well, it's not. Yeah. We're winning with
the way we're playing. Absolutely. Because Spurs this Conte ball is quite drab, I must admit. You know, it's nothing to get excited about.
I'm waiting for his FA punishment for saying that VAR should be. It's what did he used a word that was very kind of spiky about it, just because he had a and to be fair, that new handball rule is if it hits another part of your body and then goes onto your hand, it's not handball, it's not deliberate handball. So from one of those angles, you could clearly see that. Did you see the incident, the penalty?
Yeah.
West Ham. It clearly hit his head first and then hit his hand. Now, it didn't look like that. First time I saw it, I thought, well, that's a penalty.
Yeah.
But then that particular angle, and that is what VAR. That's fine. That should not. If I was a West Ham fan, I'd have been delighted, and if I was a Spurs fan, I'd be thinking, why am I a Spurs fan? No, if I was a Spurs fan, I'd be thinking, well, okay, fair enough. It's unlucky. It looked like handball, but he did hit his head first. I wouldn't, I don't know what his problem is. His problem clearly is the fact they dropped 2 points.
Yeah.
And looking at the highlights on Match of the Day, they were lucky. West Ham bombarded them right at the last 5-10 minutes, but apparently before that, Spurs had been quite in control. But I don't know. So there's this. Did you hear about the Leeds deal for this Bamba Dieng fella?
He's failed a medical at Nice.
Yeah, but he was at Nice airport with a private jet due to fly to Leeds.
Oh. And
he just changed his mind and said he'd go to Nice instead, seeing as he was there. And he's just failed a medical there. Okay. So I don't know where that leaves him. I don't know what club who's he with? I never heard of him.
Marseille.
Oh, blimey, going from Marseille to Nice. That's you want to up your security if you're doing that.
Nice are starting to collate a few work records.
Well, you know who they're owned by, don't you?
That's Jim Ratcliffe's.
Jim Ratcliffe. So he's like Ineos, Sky. I watched the Tour de France when it's on, and he owns that team, and he also put in a late bid for Chelsea, even though he's a big Man United fan. So
it's funny, you know, he's been Britain's richest man, I think, for a while, but it's funny how he's now starting to raise his profile a little bit.
Well, I think he wants United. I think the Chelsea one was a little more opportunistic. If it came off, great. If it didn't,
a folly.
Yes. He lives near.
What a folly you can have when you're a billionaire, multi-billionaire.
And having Nottingham Forest just signed another 2 players. There's lots of funny memes on Twitter about Nottingham Forest first team squad turning up for training, and you see just like thousands of people rushing forwards in some picture or other.
I've got that cliche of the clown car that stops, and then just lots of clowns keep getting out.
Yeah. It's an interesting strategy. Like, you're newly promoted and you've signed about 18 players. So if you get relegated,
I think they're up to 19 or 20 players now.
I mean, if you get relegated, I'm assuming you've not been so foolhardy and not written into every contract a relegation clause where your fee, your wage drops by 80% or whatever. I'm assuming they've done that. Like, if they haven't, then the owners of that club are risking the future of that club.
The owners of Forest are also the owners of Olympiacos. So I'm sure there will be some creative accounting going on where certain players maybe move to Olympiacos, because Olympiacos are fairly regular.
So that's why one of the players they've just bought is going to Olympiacos on loan for a year.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were the same owners. And where are these owners from? What are they? What's their background? Is it?
I couldn't tell you, to be honest. All I remember about the Olympiacos owner is he's the one who had COVID when we played them in the Europa League.
That's right, and gave it to Arteta.
Which then closed down English football, basically. So, that's all I know. But Forest, I mean, they're doing a big gamble. They're a weird one because their performances have been relatively good, but they're not getting the results in the way that Fulham are. Like Fulham already, like I've never seen Fulham hit the ground running like they have in the Premier League. They've been really good.
What have Forest? But Forest have played obviously Liverpool.
Well,
have they played Liverpool?
No, they lost to Man City 6-0.
Man City. They played Spurs.
I think a lot of people are going to do. They played Spurs, played very well, but still lost.
And they played away at Newcastle.
Yeah. They played at home at West Ham. I think that was their
and
first
they beat
game.
West Ham.
Yeah.
So they've actually had quite a typical opening set of fixtures.
Mm.
And so, yeah, they might be all right.
Yeah. I think they'll play teams worse than the ones they already have and pick up points. So
it's interesting because I can't imagine that Leicester and Aston Villa will. Okay, maybe Leicester will. I don't know, but they can't remain basket cases for the whole season, surely, because they'll be relegation candidates if they do.
Well, yeah, I'm glad we can talk about Leicester because looking at that team tonight, your spine of your team is Ward in goal, who to me he looks like a sub-keeper.
He wasn't good against us.
Oh, just no. And then your centre-back pairing is Amate, who's not a natural centre-back, and O'Shea, who's getting on now. And then their holding midfielder was this Samare, who to me wasn't great. Wasn't stopping the counter-attacks from United anyway. I don't. I think Ndidi's still there, but whether he's injured or not, I'm not sure. And then really, you're relying on Maddison, Barnes, and this Dewsbury Hill to create everything. Vardy's movement was.
Twitter were quite critical of Vardy's performance tonight.
Not good enough. They're in trouble. Leicester are really in trouble. And with everything else going on in the background, did you read Fofana's statement?
No.
Where basically he said, I just want to wish Leicester well. I'm not going to say anything, about, how things have come to this. And then he basically goes on to say basically that he and the coach just didn't get on. So all very weird. And yeah.
You could see Brendan Rodgers as a character that could rub certain people up the wrong way.
He's David Brent. He's the David Brent.
He is.
But Leicester is just so sad. They've gone from winning the FA Cup, 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
And now they're selling all the furniture, as it were, and it's just bizarre.
It's like, maybe like the owners are cashing in.
They've spent nothing.
No, they've signed. They've signed this
defender face.
They've signed the centre half, and that's it. A second choice, a backup goalkeeper, and this guy they've just signed now to replace Fofana.
But that's not even treading water, really.
Not when you look at the likes of Fulham and Forest doing what they're doing in terms of football with Fulham, but in terms of expenditure with Forest. Bournemouth drew against, was it Wolves during midweek? They drew. No, that's not a bad result. I know Wolves are struggling to score, but to go from a 9-0, to go from a 9-0 to I think sacking Scott Parker was a bit harsh. He couldn't. I think it was because of his comments. It wasn't even because of his performance. Yeah. Like the 3 games he lost, they're always going to lose. The one game that they weren't always going to lose, they won. So it's like 3 points from those 4 games, and you're thinking that's par. That's where we expect it to be. Maybe beating Wolves, they might have looked at, but a draw against Wolves is okay. Wolves are well-established Premier League team in the top half of the table. They're no easy game. But so the likes of Leicester and Villa need to watch out. Everton as well, although Everton, they've spent, I don't know, I'd love Everton to come crumbling down, not because of Everton, but just because of Lampard. I don't like how he gets a free pass like all the time. Derby County picked them up when they were 8th in the Championship. 1 year later, they're 8th in the Championship. He gets a move to Chelsea.
Yeah,
Everyone's thinking he was harshly treated by Chelsea, and then Tuchel comes in and turns them from a bit of a basket case team to Champions League winners in the space of 3 or 4 months. Thus realising what sort of a shoddy job Lampard had done in the first place. Lampard dined out on the fact that he gave Mason Mount his kind of starting the team, and Mason Mount has been pretty pants all season as well. It's like he's not really done a lot, but I'm not being. I don't like Lampard. I didn't like him when he played as well. I mean, I actually, it's terrible to say this against England, I know, but that goal, that shot he had against, was it Germany, and it bounced down and over the line and wasn't given. I was thinking that couldn't happen to a nicer fella. That.
Oh, I can't take that. No.
Sorry, I'm not. You know, it's club over country all day long for me.
Well,
so.
yeah, of course, but you know, still support my country as well. I think that's the Irish blood in you as well.
Do you think so? Subconsciously, I don't.
I think definitely.
No, I don't. It's. I hate the fafanfare that goes with England. I hate it. At the moment, the current team, I hate how dour and unimaginative the team selections.
But it's a double edge with England, because on the one hand you get the fanfare bigging up, but you also get the tearing down. You know, the public and the media love nothing more than to tear down England players as well, which is why I want Aaron Ramsdale nowhere near the England team. You know, I want him happily just warm in the seat on the bench, watching Jordan Pickford take all the heat, basically, for the World Cup. You know, Saka is a different story because he's already been through it all and had it all and dealt with it all, and will be better for it. But yeah, even Ben White, you know, I'd be happy for him to, having now moved to right back, have basically taken himself out of the run-in to play for England. And therefore, Southgate will just have to rely on Maguire and Stones.
I don't know, although Southgate might take Ben White anyway as a versatile squad player to cover 2 positions he can cover. Zinchenko's been on Fabrizio Romano's TV or YouTube channel or whatever, and he said that Zinchenko tells Romano that he's been keeping an eye on the Douglas Luiz situation and even asked Gabriel Jesus what was going on, but he didn't know. It's funny.
Wow.
He's funny.
Yeah, it's not going to have the same pull as previous transfers. On that, what are your best and worst memories of transfer deadline days with Arsenal?
Well, I don't. It's a new phenomena for me.
It is very much the last sort of 10, 15 years, isn't it?
Obviously, the Ozil signing. Was Sanchez on deadline day as well?
It must have been close. It certainly came out the blue. That's how I remember it.
Obviously, there's that. I'm not sure I'm allowed to talk about this. There's the Stoke City fans, and the inflatables, shall we say?
Yes.
Which was memorable, like comical. Harry Redknapp rolling down the window, I could punch him in the face. I don't know. It's like, did we sign 5 players when we got Arteta and Mertesacker? Didn't we get like
Andre Santos?
Santos and Park. Yeah, Santos, Park.
Park. Yeah.
Mertesacker, Arteta, and I thought there was 5, but maybe not.
Well have been. Are you Googling?
No, I'm not actually. I'm refreshing. I'm still holding out hope.
What about transfers in general then? Because the first Arsenal transfer I remember getting really excited by was Bergkamp.
No,
because it was the first time I remember us signing a genuinely world-class, a world-renowned player as well. No. Yes, he was having a bit of a tough time in Italy, but it was still Dennis Bergkamp. I mean, wow.
Yeah, no, that was a kind of a signaler for sure. No, the single most, and I've said this before, that the one transfer that for me stands head and shoulders above all the others we didn't actually pay any money for. The Sol
Ah.
Campbell free transfer from Spurs to Arsenal. I remember exactly where I was in a classroom in a school in East London, downstairs, ground floor classroom, group of kids, don't know what year, maybe year 9, year 10, whatever. And it just came up on there. Obviously, we're keeping an eye on it. And a mate of mine at the time, PE teacher, big Spurs fan, out on the field with his class, and we could see them out doing their PE lesson. So I got one of our livelier lads, an Arsenal fan, and I gave him a little note, and I wrote on the note, "We've just nicked your captain," and said, "Send it out, go and fold it up, give it to the PE teacher, and we'll all watch." Okay, so I got my class to line up. It was like a window stretched the whole kind of length of the classroom. So we all stood crowded by the windows. I said to the class, right, you just watch Sir's reaction to this. It could get quite unprofessional. So just keep an eye on it. And sure enough, he went over. And I said, make sure you point so he knows where I am. And I'm just stood there like smiling and waving at him. And yeah, you'd get sacked for what he gestured towards me these days. And I don't think he's ever forgiven me for it either, because he knows that I was the person to tell him that Sol Campbell had left his beloved Spurs to join the arch enemy down the road, the interlopers, the foreigners at Arsenal, and it was just a thing. I mean, it was a shock as well, because you talk about he was a world class player.
Yeah,
like Bergkamp was, but we got him for nothing. And we got him from them, and how it just boiled their urine so much. It was just sublime. I'm still enjoying it now. So there you go. That's I can't say I'm still enjoying the Dennis Bergkamp transfer.
No.
The transfer. Oh look, the best player I've ever seen in the flesh, second to none, was Dennis Bergkamp, because I saw so much of him and like wow. Just like I cannot sing the Vieira song about Fabio Vieira walking in the Bergkamp Wonderland. I will never sing that song about another Arsenal player, even if it is Ødegaard, who does come close amongst the current crop to that quality player, but he's not a Bergkamp.
Martin Ødegaard doesn't scan to Bergkamp.
An Ødegaard Wonderland.
It's just a bit of a stretch.
No, not. Okay, I'm not as musical as you, so I bow down to the superior ear. But
even with the Ozil transfer, there was a little bit of a dig at Spurs with that, because it was the follow the money.
Oh yes, it was. They facilitated it, didn't they?
We bought Ozil, which allowed them to buy Bale, and then with the Bale money, they bought 7 players, and I think only one of whom you could argue was relatively successful. And that was Lamela, who stayed there for a bit. Paulinho was good in spells. I can't even remember many others. People like, was it Asu Akoto? I'm not sure. They spent a lot of money. Oh, was that when they signed the Villarreal striker, Soldado?
Goldado, they called him. And it was no Goldado.
No Goldado.
Right.
I think that might have been that summer.
I was just refreshing Twitter to see if we'd signed, a world-class winger out of left field.
Okay.
But instead, William Hill tweeted, Gabriel Jesus' Premier League record when he scores. Right now, this is a double-edged sword. This one. So when he scored, his team has won every game apart from 3, which they've drawn. Now, how many games is that in total, I hear you ask? Well, the answer is 49. Right. So you know where this is going now.
Yeah. How many games?
Where did our 49 undefeated run end? Old Trafford.
Great.
Where are we playing on Sunday?
Thanks for putting that in my head now.
And he's going to score, and we're going to lose. Well, I'm not even going to bother watching it. It's doom and gloom. I thought it was quite a funny.
How's this for post-match comments? Brendan Rodgers. This isn't the club that it was 2 years ago. That's the reality.
Whoa.
We haven't bought any new players in, bar one late on, in the last 2 windows, and that's a replacement. So these players need the supporters. It's a moment that's really important. Yeah.
He's not happy. He's going to walk, isn't he?
I think he might, because, you know, he's just having the team sold from under him. Because I you know, Barnes and even Maddison aside, that's a championship squad. Really? When I look at some of the players around there, honestly, they really did look poor. There was a reaction in the second half, and they were better, but they didn't really look like getting anything. They were poor against us, and we gave them an own goal, and Ramsdale let one through his legs, which, you know, but we were never really in danger of losing. I think I think Leicester are more in trouble than Villa, because Villa have got Watkins, Ings, McGinn, Petit. You know, there's players in there that are going to make things happen.
They also had a bit of fight against us as well. Like in the second half, like it's Leicester. I mean, I love I don't know who it was. Maybe it was Arsblog, but I love the quote I read after we beat Leicester 4-2. We were unlucky with the 4. No, we were unlucky to only score 4, and Leicester were lucky to score 2. It really was. It was a game that was much bigger than a 4-2.
But you could argue yesterday we were unlucky to only score 2 as well.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, no, absolutely. We've been really well. We've been really good.
We have. This is the thing. This is what worries me, because we are going to face sterner tests, and if we're not as ruthless as we need to be, you know, if we have to have record numbers of shots in order.
Yeah. But that's why I wanted this other goals and this other goal threat. That's why I wanted this other goal threat, especially if Saka's missing open goals like he did last night. However, I did think he played his best game for us this season was last night, and he got the assist as well. And I tell you what, it was a very clever assist for Martinelli's goal. He didn't panic. It was like he demonstrated confidence. And, you know, composure in the box when he might not have, and he picks out Martinelli. I mean, Martinelli just had to put his left foot to it. I do think Martinez should have scored. Here's a funny tweet.
Martinez flapped at that a bit.
Yeah, I thought so. He was looking for the camera save almost, and he misjudged I think he thought Martinelli hit it harder than he did. That he got the pitch of the ball all wrong. But here's a funny tweet. Imagine the Nottingham Forest summer signings doing their initiation songs in the hotel the night before their next away game. It'll be like Live Aid.
Could go on and on.
Yeah, that was really good. Was that 7 minutes to go?
What's looking likely is, and it doesn't have to happen tonight, is Bellerin having his contract terminated by us and then going to Barca on a free.
Apparently, Barca on a 1-year contract.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Betis couldn't afford his wages.
No.
I think that. But you kind of wonder why. I mean, how, you know, Bellerin's not in need of money. If you really wanted to go to Betis...
This is the thing. All this stuff about really wanting to play for teams and really wanting to move and this, that, and the other. At the end of the day, there's only Busquets and the other centre back at Barcelona.
Puyol.
No. He's still playing. The one who dated Shakira.
Oh yeah, the ex-Man United one.
Ex-Man United one. They're the only players I know who have taken pay cuts. And they're currently taking pay cuts because of Barcelona's dodgy dealings where they can't meet La Liga's standards for registering players. Busquets and this, who is it? What's his name? Won the Champions League
yeah.
3 times.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're taking pay cuts.
We actually went to Barcelona for Cesc Fabregas and him.
Yeah.
And he went to Man United instead. What's it
Well,
called? You're looking up his name.
I am looking up his name too, right? Because it's going to really, really bug me. Barcelona squad. Yeah, all players, at the end of the day, they're interested in money. They're getting the best deal for themselves, for their agents, for their families. And there is an element of valuing yourself, saying, well, I'm worth this or I'm worth that. But I don't know.
I mean, it would be interesting if I always think, oh, what if I was, the footballer and it was Arsenal? Would I take
Piqué, Gerard Piqué?
There you go. I was going to say Nelson.
Yeah.
Nelson Piqué. Do you know who Nelson Piqué is?
Isn't he a race car driver?
Yeah, he was Formula One.
Yeah. Right.
So I'm doing the old Ashley Barnes and Harvey Barnes cock up again. I don't think we're going to sign anyone in the remaining 5 and a bit minutes of this transfer window. I'm going to be honest. My hope has dwindled. My fire is out.
I shouldn't worry about it. So, looking around then, unless something is pulled out of the bag in the next 5 minutes, thinking about the other teams in the Premier League, what are the other best or worst bits of business?
Well, I'm glad Spurs didn't sign anybody else. I'll be honest with you. I think they're putting a lot of stock in Harry Kane, who does get injured every season at some point. So I'm hoping that happens before the 1st of October. I'm glad I feel a little bit better that they dropped points last night, simply because they're not playing well, and yet they kept winning. Chelsea are a strange one. They've bought another defensive midfielder and Aubameyang. I'm assuming that deal has gone through. I haven't seen it. It just depends on how. It just depends on how Aubameyang fits in, how he plays, what's his mind like. And I don't know. He scored 11 goals at Barcelona. Like, he didn't go there and flop.
Oh, he'll score goals wherever he goes. But
he didn't score goals with us in the last season, in the last half season.
But that's what I mean. I was just about to say, but there's only a certain period in which that's likely to happen, because he gets bored or distracted or whatever it is. He just
they only want him for this season, the remainder of this season, really. That's. And he knows he obviously played under Tuchel at Dortmund, so they know each other.
Tuchel famously said that of Aubameyang, when he was asked about his disciplinary record, he says, "Look, if you have a meeting at 9:30, you tell Aubameyang it starts at 9, because that's how you have to manage him." So it's a case of.
And he got a good tune out of him in Dortmund, which is why we paid all the money we did for him. I mean, again, talking about transfers, I can't believe he came to us, to be fair.
Aubameyang.
Yeah, I think that was a bit of a coup for us. I didn't think that would happen when it was mentioned first.
On his arm, he's got tattooed.
Yeah,
himself walking with his children wearing his Arsenal shirts with 14 on.
Number 14, all right, yeah.
14 forever, so just colour that in with blue, maybe. For me, I'm a bit annoyed by Spurs' signings because they've got the lure of the Champions League. I think Bissouma's someone I would have liked. I think Spence is a good player for the future that they got from Forest.
Yeah, I don't think we need cover at fullback though.
No, but and I was really hoping that Richarlison, and he might be yet, would be more of a disruptive influence. And so far he's made some good cameos.
But how long? Yeah, exactly. But how long is he going to be happy with that? With the World Cup coming up, especially when Son isn't playing well at all, and so he's a replacement for Son. You'd imagine that maybe even in their next game, that's what will happen. Bissouma only started against West Ham because Bentancur, I don't know how to pronounce his name, he was suspended or injured or something. He had a head injury, didn't he? because they hadn't actually started any of their new signings. Now Perisic played as well last night. I don't know, did he start previously as well? But
He started one game. I only know that because of fantasy football.
You've got Spurs players in your fantasy football.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx Arsenal players.
No, I agree. So there's I don't know if you can see that. There's
something.
It's like a kind of entire school photo of someone saying that's the Nottingham Forest first team picture, and it's like about 400. You're like, it's like, yeah.
So Villa has just come up on Sky Sports. They've got Jan Bednarek on loan. He's a defender from Southampton, I guess.
Yeah. Of
course, we made a lot of moves.
Yeah, we let Torreira go this window as well.
Yeah.
So we've actually shipped a lot of. Do you know? I was reading somewhere that we've actually, in terms of the men's, the women's, and the youth team, we've actually done 55 deals this transfer window. And included in those 55 are 9 releases. Right. So we've actually, if you think about, we got all our players in before the season started. We bedded them in. 3 of them, I'm counting Saliba in this as a returning player, but have made huge contributions to the first 11. Vieira's obviously was injured and he's been on the bench, and Marquinhos has been on the bench as well, but he has been scoring goals sufficiently in the under-23s to not go out on loan. A bit like Martinelli. We signed Martinelli to send him out on loan, but he impressed so much in training that they said, no, hang on. Let's keep him. Let's see how he gets on here. So Marquinhos is possibly treading a similar path. We'd like to see it. But then that was one part of the window, is the incomings. The second part, which is probably as important, was getting rid of the deadwood. Who's left? Reece Nelson, injured. That's it. Of all the players we had listed that we wanted or we thought should go, they're gone. All right, I don't want to tally up how much money we earned from those sales, because...
Do you want me to tell you?
Oh, God. Someone... How do you know?
Oh, it's on Transfer Market.
Oh, go on then.
It's basically, roughly, 21 million.
Who have we got that from?
So Guendouzi went for 9.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Torreira went for 5. Leno went for 3. And Mavropanos went for 2 point something. And so, yeah. And the rest are all loans. So Mari's gone on loan. Pepe's gone on loan. Tavares. Oh, we released Lacazette as well. Yeah. And then Renarsson, goalkeeper.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And lots of young players come here and there. Patino to Blackpool. Trusty to Birmingham. Aziz today went to Ibiza, as you say.
There's a song in there somewhere, isn't there?
Yeah. Oh, and Salah Mahand.
Oh, yeah.
There's got to be a pun or a song.
He's gone though, hasn't he? It's not loan, is it?
I thought it was a loan with an obligation to buy.
Right. Okay. And James Olayinka went today to, is it Cheltenham or someone like that? So hang on. There's a thing actually. Reece Nelson's still around.
He's your winger.
There's your winger. Marquinhos.
Defensive central midfield.
Yeah, not quite. No, I do mix my players up from time to time, but not to that extent, I would hope. Right. So, who starts against United on Sunday?
Well, assuming the problem is we can't assume they're fit.
Assuming
Ramsdale received treatment, and Odegaard did look.
We went off,
ginger
didn't he?
On his foot. I don't know. As long as Saka, Jesus, and Martinelli start, and the defense is the same, Xhaka will play.
I want Xhaka to play in the position he's been playing in, though. I don't want him to move.
But then it's just a question of
It's
You know,
Lokonga
Rams,
again. You basically
yeah.
Zinchenko comes in for Tierney, and you play the same. The remaining team is the same. It picks itself from last night.
But if not, then Smith Rowe has to come in for Odegaard. Turner
He
has
scored.
to
He scored. He scored at Old Trafford last year.
What, Odegaard?
No, Smith Rowe.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So
Was that the
that was
one where
yeah.
they were saying it should have been blown up for something or
I
other?
can't remember, but there was something
Definite controversy
controversial
about
about it. Yeah.
a free kick was given, or they were waiting for the whistle to be blown and it wasn't, so he just hit it and it went in.
And then that put us 1-0 up, and I still knew we'd lose.
Well, yeah.
I'm not like, I don't want to watch it. I'm gonna fess up. I don't
Well,
want
I
to
must
watch
say,
it.
I mean, I've never been at. I don't think the fan base and the atmosphere has been this positive going into a game at Old Trafford
Oh, the higher we are, the harder we will fall.
for some time, and that's fine. But I think all Arsenal fans feel that way. All Arsenal fans know that while this has been a great start, we haven't played one of the other top six, and it would have been nice to play Man United in the first couple of weeks, but we're playing them now after a couple of wins. So it's going to be different.
Yeah, do you know what? I actually think that's not. I look what they did to Liverpool.
Yeah.
I actually think Man United were playing poorly when we went there last season, and we were almost going into that game as favourites for some reason, and it didn't pan out like that. Do you know what? I just hope that it's not a refereeing decision that costs us. I just if United beat us and deserve to, fair and square, then that's fine. I've always been like that. It's funny. It doesn't matter who we're playing. Spurs, United, no matter what the game is. If we deserve to lose, I can put my hand up and say we deserve to lose. That's fine. We didn't play
essentially
well.
what you're saying is that all the anxiety you feel about Man United
is an injustice,
especially at Old Trafford, is because of what happened in the 50th game.
Well, not exclusively. Pretty much what's happened in
every game.
Yeah, like as I said, the reason that the sweetest victory for me, like almost ever, was the 2005 FA Cup final at Cardiff, because United battered us. Because I know that as a United fan, and Ferdinand, this is why Rio Ferdinand does not like us. That picture of him crying into his jersey that does the rounds every time these games come up is why he hates Arsenal. It's because it was daylight robbery. It was the most unjust outcome to a cup final you could imagine. Maybe the Bayern Munich Man United 99 Champions League final, which was another sickener because it was in 1999 and we should have won the double that year and they won the bloody treble. I don't like them. I want to stop talking about them. I've got to go to sleep in the next half hour and I won't. Right. Is there any late
Southampton have signed another young prospect. They're just hoarding young players. They're doing a sort of
Chelsea on the cheap.
Well, I don't know if it's Chelsea on the cheap. I was going to say a sort of lower brand of what we're doing, where you're playing a young, hungry squad with potential to either improve your own footing or at least give themselves a kind of sell-on value and work from there. Because there was a time, when you looked at Southampton and who was there, it was Shane Long, it was Theo Walcott. It needed fresh air blowing into it, but whether it's got the quality, I don't know. They moved Forster on, who's now the second keeper at Spurs. So they're obviously going for a complete sort of rehaul, really.
And I actually like him as a manager as well.
I like his passion, and I see what he's doing. I don't know if I could cope with the all or nothing approach, because Southampton go from beating Chelsea 2-1 at home to losing 1-0 to Leicester.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I could take quite the swing between that, but there we go.
But maybe they needed to get some players in because they had been quite quiet in the first part of the window, but they've had a decent start to the season.
They've had a very decent start to the season.
So, right, I think I'm a little bit underwhelmed.
You feel flat
by deadline day. To be fair, look, I'm not getting upset about not getting Douglas Luiz or not getting Tielemans. I don't think I go back to my first response when I heard of our interest in each of those players, and it was like, really? And that's not to say I don't think they're better than some of the players we've got. I'm sure they are. It's that I think we want to if we're going to spend £30 million, or it needs to be a Jesus kind of improvement to what's already there. And if that player doesn't exist, before Neto's injury, people are telling me, other clubs telling me that he was one of the most exciting young players in the Premier League, and he's kind of finding his way back. Then if we have to wait and pay 50 million for him in the next transfer window or summer transfer window next year, then that's fine. If he's the player, then he's worth waiting for. If it can't, it's not financially. We haven't got a bottomless pit. So I'm just disappointed that we didn't get the players that I believe Arteta and Edu absolutely know we need to make us secure in that top four battle. I think there's an opportunity, the way Chelsea and United have started the season is kind of
wow. There we go. 1 hour 24 before his internet cuts out. Well, I'm hoping he was saying that we hope we're not short in our run for the top four. I personally think I was happy with the Tielemans idea at first, but he's not had a great start to the season. And like you say, if we really wanted him, we would have paid what Leicester would have liked for him. But we could just wait a year and get him on a free. The first time since Arteta's been there, I felt that the Douglas Luiz move was the first time we've shown a little bit of desperation almost, in that we've been trying to buy a player just to fulfill a squad position because we're short now through injuries in midfield. Whereas all the other purchases seem to have had a little bit more thought about them.
Hello. Right, I don't know what happened there. I tried to end the broadcast, but I got cut off just before I could press that end broadcast. I was ad-libbing, and you might have been ad-libbing at the same time, so I have no idea what's actually...
I was ad-libbing, yeah. I was talking about the fact that I was on board with Tielemans as a bit of a squad player, but how Douglas Luiz felt like the first time we've gone into a little bit of panic mode, just wanting a body in, maybe.
Yeah, I agree. But the only
on reflection, actually, that he's still. I couldn't believe he was 24. Essentially, when I looked.
Yeah, and Edu knows him really well from the Brazil setup. So it wasn't panic. It was a player that we knew and was probably floating around our list of potential players, but maybe further down. But again, why leave it till the deadline day itself? Maybe Villa just wouldn't countenance it before we played them. I don't know, but it's interesting. Anyway, look, I don't know how much this rewatching the last 5 minutes will be interesting. Well, interesting for me to see what the hell happened with terms of the recording. Were we talking over each other or anything like that? I don't know. Anyway, I was giving it a 4 out of 5 window. I was thinking especially if we can add the contract extensions of Saka, Martinelli, and Saliba over the next few months. That would be fantastic. And we're 5 for 5, top of the league, onto Old Trafford. We couldn't be in a better position at this point of the season, really. Maybe Partey's injury aside, and maybe the threat or fear of Ødegaard. But anyway, cheers for that. Enjoy your trip to Old Trafford. I hope it's it follows the current vein that we're on at the moment. And we'll catch up again for a post-match podcast, maybe on the Monday, because it's a later kickoff on the Sunday. So you might be a bit, I don't know, you're a bit nearer to Manchester though, aren't you? So
not that much nearer.
No, is it not? I don't. It's north.
I'm on the other side of the country.
Yeah, it's a narrower part, is it? No, you're maybe out on the.
It's going to be a late night.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll catch up on the Monday if so.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
Bye.